And my new project, FCX24 Power Wagon. This is my old one. It's a fun little truck. But I always thought it would make an awesome 6x6, which is what we're doing. We're going to convert this to a 6x6. I'm not quite sure how. I have another one coming and a spare frame. I want to try to use all FCX24 parts. The links obviously are going to be the problem. Trying to figure out how to do that. I don't think the upper Y will be an issue, but the lower links, because I need to carry this straight back for room for the servo. So I may try to do the links, the lower links between the axles, connecting them to this back axle, like on the Furatech 6x6. See how that works. The only other way I've seen it done is we use really long links and bend them up to tie to the frame. Once all the parts show up, it's just going to be eyeballing and see what I can make work. I would like to do something about the shocks to get this flatter, but that's down the road. It's just getting it functioning first. Like I say, the parts won't be here for about a week, so there's some other things I want to do. Actually, I already started. Is removing the body, because the lights come on the grill, so you got this little wire plugged in. What I've done is cut the lights off the body and mounted them to the fenders, so I can leave the fenders attached and I just take the body shell off. That's what I did to this one. So and the body, I've outlined this in another video. The body just clips on here and it stays on. Mounting these little lights to the fenders, not the easiest thing in the world to do, but the end result is worthwhile to me. Plus it looks better. I always thought it looked funny having the light stuck on the side of the grill. So the wires go through the fender and come under and they're tied together. I use my own LEDs. The stock wiring harness, it's kind of weird. Plus it's covered in all this shrink wrap tube. Pretty stiff. At half time you end up ripping these cores out, pulling the body on and off. Anyway, so I use my own LEDs. The wire comes across, they're soldered together, and I added another wire on the positive and ground that's going to run to the back for taillights that I'm going to add. And then from this junction I'll run solder on a new plug so I can plug it into here's the headlight port. The headlight port is controlled on this one. Press the channel 4 button twice, gets the headlights on, again turns them to bright, and then they stay bright, and then it goes off. That's the lights. Oh, it's odd. Well, it shows it in the instruction manual. On this receiver, the power wire isn't the center plug on the light port. It's actually on the edge, and the middle one acts as a ground. It had me going when I first tried to test these why it wouldn't power up, but it's actually reversed. It shows it in the diagram for this receiver. To control the rear steer, I'm just going to wire the back servo off the front servo wire, so it'll be proportional, full-time steer. But I'm going to do like I did on my Atlas and have the ability to turn off the back servo, locking it in whatever position the axles are turned. I'm doing that by stripped out servo, removing the motor and all the gears, and you end up with a servo switch, which switches the wire that used to go to the servo motor, adding a lead to it. So this wire coming out of the switch changes polarity, and by running this power the back servo, you use the channel 3 switch, it will change polarity of this wire, effectively turning it off because it no longer has power. And then this will go to the back servo, but the yellow and brown, or the power and ground, like I said, will go to the Y harness off channel 1. Currently, channel 3 controls the shift mechanism, and this radio has left, center, off, right to shift the transmission, but I'm moving it to channel 4. On channel 4, like I said, this is the light control. Pressing it, it cycles through the different functions, but if you hold it, it'll switch a servo plugged into channel 4. So I'm moving the servo to this. Long press will shift the servo, but this moving it to channel 4 will allow me to still shift it if I want. So this is going to be the power lead for the rear servo. This will go to the front servo, so I'll have proportional full steer. When I switch channel 3, it will change polarity of the power for the rear servo, turning it on and off. And that allows you to, well, basically turn it off at whatever position the back wheels are at, it stays there. So you can turn full left, turn the servo off, and then you can crab walk. And some people just use the channel 3, which on this one would work, because you can turn left, turn it off, or turn right. But I really kind of like proportional. This will give me the ability to turn it off. This receiver, this is the headlight port. This receiver has all kinds of functions and features. If you want to run signals, backup light, yada yada, a whole bunch of stuff. This is channel 4, which I have the transmission shift plugged into. It was plugged into channel 3, but now it's on channel 4. This servo switch that I'm using to control the back axle servo will get plugged into channel 3. And again, ground and signal for the rear servo will be tied into a Y. I have some of these little plugs on order, some 2-pin and 3-pin. I don't have anything that'll plug into this. These little, whatever they're called, 1.25. I have some 2-pin and a 3-pin coming. Can't plug a regular servo, but well, I say regular. I mean, anyway. Headlights will get plugged into this. This is controlled by channel 4. The switching servo for the rear axle power will be plugged into channel 3. This is a steering servo. hopefully it works. It should, but I'm unsure about this with a 3-position switch. I've previously done it with a 2 on-off, and it worked. That's to be determined. And right now I'm just hog wiring everything because I need to make sure it works before I try to tie everything up. Like I said, this is just prepping. The real challenge is going to be adding the back axle. And for a pass-through, you take the front and replace the back half so you have a pass-through. It will also give you link mounts on the back, which, like I mentioned, I am thinking about running the links between the lower links between the 2 axles, like the Puritech, instead of trying to get back up to the frame, because I can't do this drop down because it's just where the axle is going to be. Details. This one I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing as I go along, but I figured while I was waiting on parts I could get the lights done so I can take this body on and off. Figure out how I'm powering and controlling the rear servo. This one, I mean, it has to be old, new stock. This radio, it's a V3. Comes with the dip switches so you can control forward, brake reverse, or forward reverse, battery selection. Forget what the other 2 do, but it's a nice little radio. I don't know why. I mean, there's so many versions of these radios that this model came with. My green Power Wagon radio, it doesn't have any dip switches. Lights controlled with bind. You can't switch the drive mode, brake forward, brake reverse. You can't turn the brake off, so you have to double tap to get to reverse. I don't know why you keep changing radios. Even this radio, some of them, they don't have a center position. It's either full left or full right. Odd. And anyway, this was the easy part, just killing time till parts arrive so I can actually do the mechanical part. Hopefully my plugs, I think they're supposed to show up today so I can wire this up and see if it's actually going to function like I think. Anyway, more to follow. Okay, my plugs for the FCX24 showed up. A little tiny 1.25 JST. They showed up, and the first thing I noticed is the colors. And I got online to see what I ordered, and sure enough, they show. I'll post a picture. Center is positive black, red is signal, yellow is ground, which if you just wired per position you'd be fine, but first time you hook positive to the red, or all 3 wires are in the wrong place as far as standardized color on the FCX24. It uses red in the center for power, Where this red one is should be yellow for the signal, and this should be the black one where the yellow is now. And I started to just solder them together per position, but if this plug gets buried and you can't see what you're actually soldering to, and you end up using colors, you're gonna have a problem. So simple matter of prying up the little barb or plastic that holds the barb on the pin. You pull them all out, repin it. It's not that big a deal. It's kind of tedious because I used 5, 6, anyway. And these guys, they come apart pretty easy, but getting the pins back in, I think I ruined 3. And I got back online and looked around, and I couldn't find any with the right colored wires in the positions as the FCX uses. Anyway, just an FYI. Red should be in the center. Black should be where the yellow is, and the yellow should be where the red is. So it's depinning all 3 of them to make it match the FCX24. Anyway, just an FYI. Okay, this is a very crude test of using channel 3 to turn off power to the rear servo. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show it. The rear servo, I made a Y, goes to channel 1. But on the lead going back to the back servo, I only have the signal and the ground. The yellow and the brown. It's going to channel 1. The power lead is the output of this old servo that used to go to its motor, is going in to this wire that feeds the back servo. So the servo lead, the ground and signal is coming from channel 1. Its power is going through this servo, which is plugged into channel 3. Channel 3 causes this servo to switch polarity to the wires that were going to its motor, which is where I have this power lead connected. And switching channel 3, instead of powering its motor and reversing that lead, positive and ground, to make the motor turn opposite directions, it just turns off, on and off the power going to the rear servo. And I have a LED. Is that showing? Till I bumped it. Knocked the wireless going to the LED, which is right there. You can see there's positive going to the servo lead. Switching channel 3. Turns it off. No power coming out of this, going to the servo. So if I had a back servo here, it would now be off. Turn it on. Off. On. Off. So it's working. I need to get a servo hook up to this to ensure that it functions. It should. power that's coming from this old servo that I took the motor out. The ground and the signal wire again are coming from channel 1, but I've got it tied into a Y.